It is a brand new episode of Flyers Daily for Monday, the 22nd of September, 2025. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. And it's unfortunate the way we have to start this episode. But yesterday, on the 21st of September, we lost Bernie Parent, with an icon of the franchise, an icon of the NHL, a Hall of Fame player, a Hall of Fame person. And Bill Meltzer joins for his usual Monday visit to talk about Bernie Parent. We'll get into training camp and the preseason a little bit later in this episode, but we have to lead it off with the loss of number one. Bill, losing Bernie Parent is like losing a grandfather to me. He meant so much. You can see in the background, I have a tribute. I have his mask hanging up, his Hall of Fame banner, some pictures of him and Bob Clark when they won the Stanley Cup. And it's one of those things. One of the reasons why I sit here today, my love of the game started with Bernie Parent, with that mask, and to get to know the man and everything over many years. It's an incredibly sad day.
It is. It's, I guess it hasn't sunk in yet as we're recording this. It's been just a few hours. I'm spoken with some of Bernie's teammates, including Joe Watson, who went back, I believe, 62 or 63 years with Bernie. They were teenagers, well, basically. Bernie was still a teenager. Joe was 20. And so it's Bernie was Bernie in the Broad Street Bullies. I was born in 1970, so I am old enough to remember the two Stanley Cups. Some of my they are my first sports memories, and other kids had Batman and Superman or Spider-Man, right? I had Bobby Clark and Bernie Parent. And getting to actually know him over the years, remembering the final game of his career, the awful eye injury and all that. But as much as his hockey career in my early childhood sticks with me, I think the things that stick with me the most are getting to know him over the years, getting to know Janie, meeting Kim, his daughter. It's really, just as you said, a Hall of Fame person, not just a Hall of Fame hockey player.
He had time for everybody, Bill.
Everybody.
He had time for everyone.
He was like a real life Pied Piper, because wherever Bernie went, he always drew a crowd. Even people that never saw him play, even people that really weren't hockey fans, gravitated towards him. And I think at times like these, I think a lot of us process it by sharing personal stories. So before I share mine, if you have one or two things about Bernie that you remember in particular, I'd really be interested to know what those stories were, what your memories are.
Yeah, I just remember, it's almost like my first memory of sport, Bernie, in the sense that, I just saw this sport on ice that moved so fast, and I saw this guy as the last line of defense with this mask. And you have the the iconic photo of Bernie, from Time magazine on the cover of it, and the mask all chipped up and the intense eyes coming through that mask. And it just put a set of hooks in me that would never leave, that hooked me immediately, attracted me to the position, to the man, to the player, to the mindset. And I was just mesmerized by it. And like you, people had their superheroes of Spider-Man, Superman, whatever they were, the Incredible Hulk. Mine was that guy in that mask, and wondering a lot, back then you didn't have the access that we have now, is what was behind that mask. And I remember when his book came out, that only The Lord Saves More Than Bernie.
Bernie, yeah.
Yeah. And I got a copy of it from My second uncle, who is Eddie Casey, the old
Mhm.
chaplain for the Flyers, a signed copy of it, and I would remember looking at it and looking at the signature like it was the Ten Commandments or scripture. It was so, I was in such reverence of it. And then in those later years, like you mentioned, to get to know Bernie and to get to kind of experience Bernie, either when I was working in radio and he would come in or whatever it was, it was always just such a pleasant exchange. And, the authenticity of the man that was so great. And I was so mesmerized by to meet him and have him meet the expectation was awesome. And he embraced everything. Like he embraced them. He always had a golf shirt on that had the mask on it, like you see up in the corner of the screen.
Yeah.
I was at an event with him here where he had the mask. He actually put the mask on as we were sitting there at an Ed Center Youth Hockey Foundation thing.
Yeah.
And we're just hanging out. That's
I think the celebrity bartender event.
Yeah. And like to have all those expectations met by the person is, as you know, is very rare. So I'm incredibly sad today.
Yeah, they say never meet your heroes.
Yeah,
but in Bernie's case, it actually his stature somehow got higher when you met him. Bernie was a guy with foibles and humanity, and he was always self-effacing and honest and humorous.
Yeah,
I mean those were constants with Bernie. I would say that, and it's hard to choose just two, but I'll choose two. When I was working on the Pelle Lindbergh book, which was the first book that I did, which I co-authored, I had the opportunity to visit Pelle's childhood home in Sweden, and Pelle's mom was still alive at that time. She's since passed. Well, Pelle's old bedroom was a shrine to his hockey career, right? But in the living room, it was just family photos, with one exception. There was a frame photo of Bernie and Pelle from the 1985 NHL awards.
Because where they're holding the Vezina Trophy together, correct?
Correct.
I have the same photo.
Yeah, and
because he was his goalie coach and his hero.
And I mean, Pelle used to call him my dad in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
That's how close they were. So that's something that always stuck with me. That they with all these family photos, that was a family photo to Pelle's mom.
Single exception.
Yeah, with that one exception. The other one was the Snyder Hockey Pro-Am. Believe it was a year ago, 2 years ago. Now Bernie had a lot of back pain the last few years. He had a fall. He had to have a couple back procedures. So Bernie really couldn't stand for long periods of time by that point. So he could stand for a little bit, then he would have to sit down. So it was before the game, and I just had an opportunity for maybe about 20 minutes or so to talk with Bernie and to talk with Jeannie, and it was just a regular conversation. Only a little bit of it was about hockey, but most of it wasn't. And just about whatever. But while we're talking, a couple of Flyers fans came over, and of course, people always approach Bernie.
Yeah.
And Bernie says, "Oh, hold on a second. I want to introduce you to my son. My son, what's your name?" I mean because that was Bernie's sense of humor. Then he winked at me because that was a very Bernie kind of thing. So that's that kind of things stick with you.
When I was at WIP for many years, he would come into the station quite often. He recorded some commercials for nobody makes more saves than Dr. Pistone.
Yes.
Hey, Doc, great save. Because he did the hair restoration,
the hair transplants. Yeah.
And he would come in, and he'd just come in and visit sometimes, and he'd just come in and hang out and he'd talk with Jill, who was our programming assistant, and he would just light the place up. Just Bernie just coming in. And the fact that he just come in and pop in, we get a message from Kay out front. Everybody knows Kay from the many years, the legendary receptionist at WIP. Right. And she said, Bernie's here. I said, send him back. And he just come back to the studio area and pop in, whatever.
Yeah. Just to shoot the breeze with Bernie was always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And then we get to talking hockey.
Oh,
I mean, yeah. I mean, he saw things it's why he made. I mean, not only was he such a great goalie, but I mean, he was a great goalie coach. You mentioned Pelly, but he was also Ron Hextall's goalie coach too. And Bob Froese. I mean, the Flyers had 3 consecutive Vezina finalists, and when Bernie was the goalie coach, and Bernie and different relationships and different player-coach relationships with all 3, but in different ways, he helped all of them immensely. And I mean, he understood the position inside and out. And I said it was all everything was always lighthearted and with a sense of humor, but there was always something in there you could get from it too, where some kind of takeaway too. So
he had strong opinions on modern day goaltending. He and I would talk about it quite a bit.
He sure did, yeah, absolutely. And and they were justified. They were reasoned as to why the position, and he said too. I mean, he'd be the first one to say, like, with the equipment today versus back when he was playing, it's really a different position. It's really
no fear.
Yeah. So, you had to play the position differently, and everyone had to stand up. Back with maybe not Doug Favell. He liked to flop around. But Bernie was just Bernie was truly, the words icon and legend are overused, but it very much fit Bernie. And I would say I would just say the last thing, I think it was Ernie Banks was credited with being the one who said that the measure of a man is in the lives that you touch. And that was, I mean, how many lives did Bernie touch? Countless.
Yeah, unbelievable. Born on April 3rd, 1945 in Montreal. Of course, he never lost his French accent. Very different type of goaltender than the ones today. 5'10", kick save and a beauty. I can hear in my head right now Gene Hart making those calls of the great saves. That puck was ticketed and he made a great save, and some of the huge saves and huge moments on the way to 2 cups, and just absolutely legendary. All said and done, Bernie Parent played the NHL for 13 years, 608 games. In his career, he had a 2.55 goals against average. And this is incredible when you consider the equipment. A 915 career save percentage, 917 as a Flyer. Just amazing. As a Flyer, 486 games, 231 wins, 141 losses, 102 ties. It's an amazing career, and how great he was as of a performer and on the biggest stage, Bill.
Oh well, yeah. Well, the Flyers 2 Stanley Cup clinching wins, right? Both shutouts, 1-0 and 2-0, and the 2-0 wasn't 2-0. I mean, that was scoreless going into the third period.
Yeah,
so
that's a Bill Clement goal in that one.
Bill Clement goal was the insurance goal.
Yeah, and Bob Kelly.
Bob Kelly was the cup winner, and Clement had the insurance goal. Yeah,
it's just tremendous. And and talking to Ray Didinger last week, and we'll hear Ray on Wednesday's episode about his new play called Spinner, about Brian Spinner Spencer, and coming to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 1969 team. Bernie was on that team, and Bernie was just at Ray's play as a post performance talk guest, talking about Brian Spinner Spencer. So a life well lived. So many people touched by Bernie Parent over the years. Just an amazing guy, an amazing athlete. And I'll tell you what, me, and I know I speak for you and a lot of other people, we're going to miss the heck out of Bernie Parent. May he rest in peace. All right, we continue on Flyers Daily as the training camp of 2025. Rick Tockett's initial training camp is underway. And we continue to discuss that and the preseason game number 1. Did the game actually end, Bill? I mean, 11 rounds of the shootout?
I think the shootout might still be going on. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who knew Emil Andre had some moves in the shootout? Eh? Nice little move.
Yeah. Gahagan was faked out of his equipment there.
Yeah, and the goaltenders got the advantage in the shootout. And you saw Bjarnason going against Anders Lee, some pretty big names for the Islanders, and Flyers ultimately come away with what's counted as a 3-2 shootout victory over the New York Islanders. Not that the result matters, but Bill, one thing, takeaway, a couple that I had of the game. First of all, Matvei Mishkov scores the goal to get it tied up with the goaltender pulled late in the third, and then his shootout attempt, he looked like he had a resting heart rate of 28, just so chill. Again, he loves big moments, and he looked pretty sharp.
He sure did. And he said he loves big moments. So it's game on the line late in the third period, goalie pulled. I mean, in the preseason, you go, oh, great, overtime. But I mean, those are situations, where he has to be your guy who steps up. He's already shown some ability to do that a year ago, multiple times in shootouts or game on the line situations. So he's someone you kind of expect to step up in those moments.
The theme of the camp is brick by brick, and the Flyers players are wearing the dry fit shirts that say brick by brick on them. That's a brick for Matvei Mishkov all on the year, just to get it off to a good start. A big goal to tie the game, get a shootout goal. And those bricks all mean something. This game last night, the result, no, it doesn't mean anything, but it is brick by brick. And, I thought Alexei Kolosov laid a couple of good bricks last night, too. He gave up 2 goals, nothing he could do about either of them, but he made some good saves in the 2 periods he played.
He did. I mean, and obviously Carson Bjarnason, who
coming in
did not look so great in rookie camp of the rookie series. Preseason game, whatever, but he sure stepped up. I thought early in the third period when the Islanders could have broken it open a little bit, stepped up several times.
He made 12 saves in the third. It's a lot.
And so some are really good ones too. So, it's showed a lot of poise out there. Those are the things you look for in these kind of games. You said the result doesn't matter, but you look for positive signs. And even if they would have ultimately lost this one, there were a number of positive signs. So it's a good way to start the exhibition.
What'd you think of Nesbitt? Because I liked it a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Not even just the assist on the goal by Abels. Was certainly nice for Jack to get a point, one of his first exhibition shifts in the NHL. The way he stepped in the middle, intercepted the pass in the neutral zone, the entry. Love his entries
right in the middle of the ice.
That's been something that's been consistent throughout this month so far. That's definitely something to keep tracking. And then the pass to Abels. Now that's one that Riddick would want to have back, the shot itself, but it was really just a sequence. And Nesbitt had several other good moments as well. So that particularly playing down the lineup where they had him. Real nice debut for him.
Yeah, I love where he was positioned in the neutral zone, reading where Tuomala angling the defender to the boards, knowing there was nobody to his right along the wall, so he could step inside the dots. He intercepts the play, goes the other way, and they end up with the goal. And I keep harping about the neutral zone with him, and it's probably for most hockey fans the most boring zone of the game. But it's one of the most critical zones of the game, and he plays that zone very well.
Oh yeah, and how many times do you see a neutral zone turnover like that ends up often in the net or as a power play or something, right? Or you the very least you hem the other team in. Though I mean those things pay off and again, that's something that we also saw in the rookie series too, where he was really, really good neutral zone play, and a couple of times where it was just a simple play, but he didn't force it and got it in deep, which are, again, it's not a sexy play, it's not a play anybody remembers when the game is over, but it's something the coaches certainly notice, and they certainly go on when they look at the film and go, smart player. He knows when to go and when to dump the puck to soft ice and get off for a change.
Yeah, it's a situational awareness.
Yeah.
He's got it. I said to Brian Smith on the postgame show that I guarantee that his dad was the coach.
Yeah.
You can just see it's written all over his game. And the other thing too is the reason why you draw penalties or you get offensive, you get set up in the offensive zone when you divert a play in the neutral zone is because you're not playing into the other team's structure because it happens too fast. You shorten the ice. And he's very good at that. And the way he kind of moves looks a little Couturier-esque, with that length. So I was really impressed with his performance in the game as well. Did anybody else pop out to you in particular? Drysdale, I know he played, Zegers played. Any of the young players, Tuamala or anybody in that regard?
Well, yeah, Tuamala, as you just mentioned, I'm glad you did. The way he angled the play, I mean, that created they forced the bad pass.
Yeah.
So that was what stood out for Tuamala. I mean, Drysdale, I think he blocked 5 shots in the game, or in a preseason game, right? But playing 20-something minutes, contributing in that way, jumping into some plays, and then the shot pass to Michkov for the tying goal. So that's again a positive. You're not looking for the stats or whatever, but you want to see the players set themselves up to have a good season. So that was that was one of the guys who I thought played well. I thought Emil Andre had a pretty good game. Even apart from the shootout goal that he scored. So I thought that was a positive in the game. I mean,
I didn't think Juleson looked strong.
Well, he had that big hit in the third period that they got all the Islanders mad at him, which is not a bad thing. Now, I mean, the only thing with Juleson was maybe he'd like that pass back where Peterson ended up getting hit, and But I mean, what are you going to do? Just happens in hockey. But no, because Juleson had a pretty rough scrimmage, let's be honest, on Saturday.
You agreed?
So coming back on Sunday and doing some positive things, I mean, that's a good. I mean, it's going to be an ongoing competition for that 6-7 spot, whatever. Would have liked to have seen a little bit more from Zamula in the competition. He was okay.
Who's he competing with? Zamula. Is he competing with Emil Andre and who else? Not Grons, because he's right shot.
In Gilbert, he's competing with Dennis Gilbert.
Yeah.
And I thought Gilbert, with his combination of physical play and he was more mobile than I realized watching him up close, in the scrimmages. And I mean, Gilbert took a step forward. I thought Juleson had taken a step back, just in the numbers game. And he said, well, one's left, one's right. But I mean, that I think that's going to be an ongoing thing throughout camp, is who takes a step forward, who doesn't.
I hope Grons forces their hand.
Yeah, well, in terms of your right shot guy, I mean, it would be great if Grons could come in and take a job, right?
Yeah,
that'd be a fantastic thing to see. So, in a game where, I mean, they did have quite a few regular forwards in there, a number of them anyway. Not so much on the defense, really, other than Drysdale. But I mean, you also thought had a good game before we move on, is that I thought Grabenkin had a good game too.
Again, he just keeps, to me, he's like so consistent.
Yeah,
he didn't end up on the score sheet. He ended up plus one in the game, but again, like Grabenkin, to me, like in the pregame, I said on the radio, on the broadcast, the line that makes sense is Zegers, Michkov, and Grabenkin.
Yeah.
You get just size-wise, style-wise, all of those things, which is why maybe you see like a Zegers, Michkov, and a Dvorak, or at some point, or and maybe or a Forster, or on that left side. It could be Alex Bump if it's not Grabenkin, right? Like they all kind of fit there. But I'm not sure if he's got the leg up on Alex Bump. I feel like the vibe is that it's more Bump than Grabenkin, but play-wise so far, it's been more Grabenkin than Bump.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and rookie series is rookie series, but I mean, ultimately, Bump is a guy who will be judged on the offense he produces. He's improved his game in a lot of other ways, but he was drafted to be an offensive guy. You know, that is still his primary number one thing that he does well. So yeah, and really, I think Gulbenkian has been in the middle of more so far. Whether it's been in practice simulations or the scrimmage or you know, we'll see what Bump does when he gets on the ice, probably next game.
Yeah.
But I think so far, while I would say that Bump still has if you had to handicap it, right, I would say Bump still in the lead,
edge.
but Gulbenkian is catching up to him though.
Yeah, and just because of the consistency of performance in practice, in scrimmages, in controlled scrimmages, you go back to the rookie series where, you know, he plays both games. You know, you look at all, and it's one of those guys that they just keep going, oh, there's Gulbenkian again. You just keep noticing him for positive things that he's doing on the ice. Sometimes that maybe that's what it takes. That's what it's going to take for him to overcome kind of the favorite status coming into camp. And look, we've seen that happen before. Bill, I thought it was really interesting. Rick Tocchet on day one said, hey, we put in systems work today. I thought that was really interesting because, you know, like hockey systems every player's played just about every system, but there's intricacies to a system. You know, you can play a 2-1-2 forecheck, but he wants the one of the two to be in a different spot to take away something different than maybe another coach does. Or, you know, where's the center? Where's 3C in that role? He wants it in a different spot. He wants to cut the ice in half defensively. So there's a lot of intricacies to his systems, even though they have everyday names.
Absolutely. And that's right from the very first drill.
Yeah, I was stunned.
That was, you know, I mean, I think they started with the 3-on-2, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really just be very mindful of where you're going. You know, everybody going to the right spots. I noticed that Tocchet likes the word staples. You know, every coach has their words of choice. And Tocchet will say that these are the things I want players to, you know, because they're not doing heavy duty systems yet. You can't. You don't want to throw too much at guys too quickly, and
there's too many guys,
and too many bodies in camp, or they're in two different groups.
Yeah,
right. So you don't have everybody on the ice. So you're doing pretty simple stuff. But just the general principles and takeaways that they want to keep in mind on an everyday basis. He went right to them, and you know, and he articulated them after the practice too. What are the things that he wants, right? Well, he wants guys thinking get to the inside because goals are scored over the middle, not from the perimeter. So right off the bat, right? Fight to get to the net. If you have an open shot, he mentioned it with Trevor Zegras actually after the scrimmage that if you have the open shot, he wants you to take the open shot. Don't force a pass. And you think situationally, because in the Zegras made a couple pretty risky plays in the scrimmage, a couple diagonal passes back towards his blue line.
Yep.
And I think that those are the kind of things that particularly now you want to nip in the bud and correct.
Yeah.
So you know, I think Tocchet has been. I've really enjoyed his post games, just because he's very straightforward. But there's a point to it all the time where it's like, you know, gives you stuff to think about. So yeah, I've been impressed with Tocchet so far, and in terms of, like I said, implementing systems right away. You know, they'll get into box and one, they'll get into the neutral zone forecheck and stuff as we move forward. But the fact that they got right into it. No, I mean, you almost always see I guess is the last year for it, but the conditioning skate on day one, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty standard. Now, you know, the rope wasn't standard, but still, there's pretty intensive skate on day one, and day two they did some conditioning skating. I mean, Tocchet said after the first thing is, you know, there's going to be skating, there has to be, but but he trusts his players. They did their homework over the summer.
Yeah, that's their job. They're pros.
Yeah, and Taka said, and I think he said at his introductory press conference even, that he said that, besides if a guy doesn't, it's going to show up real quick on the ice anyway.
Oh, yeah, you see it in a heartbeat. Those things, Taka says we use the word staples, like as you brought up. They're hockey concepts.
Yeah.
And he wants guys to get into concepts right away because you're going to hear him talk a ton about playing without the puck.
Yeah.
You're going to hear it's about supporting the player with the puck or the player attacking the puck. You're going to hear, I think he's going to talk about that. You're going to hear it all season. So I think we just need to get used to that. Last thing, Bill, Cam York came in a little lighter into camp. And I had a chance to sit down with Cam last week. Just looks like a really refreshed player. He's always been a chill, cool guy.
No.
Coming in lighter, though, he is keenly aware that he needs to get offense into his game to take the next steps. I thought he was really active in the scrimmage of activating out of his zone into the offensive zone. And we'll see if it continues. Obviously, we're here very early, but I imagine that's a message he's also getting from the coaching staff.
No doubt. Bringing out that side of him, and we saw his off the puck game 2 years ago in particular, where he just took huge strides in that. But he's always been a guy. Again, drafted where he was, his pedigree in the national team, running their power play and running Michigan's power play and running the Phantoms power play. I mean, he's being groomed to be a power play guy. In the NHL, hasn't really gotten a lot of opportunities. Maybe he didn't deserve the opportunities. That's I guess a matter of opinion, but he has to be that to be successful. And if you have York and Drysdale both step that up, then you're looking at a much different situation than if you're if you still lack that. Now the power play is going to be a work in progress. It is anyway. Even the Edmonton Oilers at this stage of a camp or whatever, it's a work in progress. But I mean that clearly is an area of need for the team, and it's an opportunity too for a guy like Cam York. What's really impressed me with Cam so far in the first several days has just been the consistency that he replicates things as they're going through one rep after another. He's been making the good first passes, right? Good active stick, using his legs. I mean, all the things you want to see him do, and doing them over and over and over again, not just a flash here or there. So that to me is actually one of the most encouraging things over the first few days of camp.
Yeah, with very little variance in execution in his performance, and that's the maturity of a player too. You see that a lot of times with young players. Their worst game compared to their best game is light years different. As players mature, they get a lot closer. Your worst game is just a tick off your best game, and that's what players shoot to do. That's maturity and becoming a pro as well. Great stuff, Bill. Read Bill's work at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyHotStove.com. All three of those will have great coverage for you all season long, and the ride begins. So everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back Wednesday. Camp continues. We'll have our reports on it. TK joins us on Wednesday as well. So join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily.